Once again, we are back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be in a safe space, a brave place, to be counseled and not canceled. And I'm joined by an amazing spirit, highest class of civilization indeed. I mean, she's been featured on Oprah Daily, US Today, Essence, so many other outlets, and now on Counsel Culture, the author of On Thriving, the one and only Brandi Sellerz-Jackson.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm more excited to have you here. I mean, from a birth doula to a life doula to someone who literally is a thought leader in the space of mental health and preserving one's energy.
Yes.
I read the book. It's amazing.
I'm excited that you read the book.
Yeah. You went deep too. I mean, you got really personal, and from your relationships, from grieving to just your process of being seen as a Black woman, and here on Counsel Culture, specifically we focus on men and Black men even being seen in today's society, and being able to be vulnerable and being able to be open. But you kind of deal with that, all through this book, when you're saying life's greatest labors and harnessing all of that. And I think you did it so beautifully. But I think
Thank you.
if anybody, it helped me quite a bit. But one of the things that I feel like you touched on, obviously the overall theme of thriving and not surviving, but the idea of what we see or what we know is like, even with anxiety and things that we may not even know that we have innately because of the culture that we grew up in, and kind of stripping away all of those things and being able to just be free in this world. So, and one of the things, you even started off in the beginning talking about psilocybin, which I'm a fan of.
Well, ketamine.
Well, yeah, ketamine in that sense.
Yeah,
But I think you talked about earlier, I think it might have been in the introduction, where like most people, psychedelics.
There we go.
Psychedelics in the sense of, when you hear that term, you think of like going to Joshua Tree, and seeing all the cool, groovy things in the sky.
Yeah.
That's my type of vibe.
I know, same. That's what I wanted too.
Yeah, but you did it in a different way. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I always, envisioned that my first time trying psychedelics would be in a yurt.
Right.
In Joshua Tree.
Yeah, facts.
Right?
It's a good time.
Right? And, growing up, I'm a Black woman. I'm from the South. I come from a pretty religious background. Yeah. So the idea and conversation around any kind of psychedelic anything, we just weren't having that.
Facts.
That just
It's not our world.
You pray it away.
Yeah, I was about to say that's of Satan.
Right.
The Lord ain't gonna sanction that.
He ain't gonna bless that.
Yeah.
You pray it away.
Absolutely.
And so this idea of psychedelics, when I heard the first thing about psychedelics, psilocybin, ketamine, whatever, I was like, ooh, I'll be in a yurt. We'll be like, we'll have like a drum circle.
Right.
It'll be like this thing, but it wasn't that.
Yeah.
The first time I tried it was in a therapist's office.
Yeah.
And I had gotten to a point where I felt like I wasn't living my life. And the things that were happening around me, the good things that were happening around me, they felt like they weren't mine to possess.
Right.
Right? And I think we've all been there where it's like all this good and it doesn't feel like it's yours. You feel like you're an imposter. You feel like you are the person, you're a house guest receiving packages for the owner of the house.
Right.
As opposed to, no, this is mine. This is my joy. This is my good thing. This is mine. And so I got into a point where I got tired of feeling like that. And it really began to weigh on me, so much so that my anxiety began to turn into this heaviness that I had never felt. Like anxiety I had known. I'm like, I've known that since I was a kid. Okay. But the heaviness I had never known. And so because of that, I found myself in a therapist's office doing psychedelics. And that was the doorway for me.
And you found it to help you, because we've had ketamine therapists on before, and they obviously it's a controlled environment. Talk about the experiences. It kind of takes you into certain places, allows you to be a little bit more vulnerable. You found, did it stick with you coming out of it, or was it just more about that psychedelic experience in the moment?
Well, here's the thing. It's yes, you have this experience, right? You have this aha moment in your journey,
right,
in your trip.
You're right.
However, it's more so about what you do after. Because what's happening is, after you've experienced psychedelic therapy, your brain is going through neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Where it means that
connections.
Connections, rewiring, things that, it's a great time to pick up habits that you've never done before. Like if you're not a runner, might be a good time to start running.
Right.
If you, have always thought about, let me go walking, let me get in nature, that's a good time to do that. And so it's more so about what you do after. And I've seen where you're getting little nuggets and downloads for months, years after your journey.
It allows you to see the world in a more optimistic space. And I mean, usually that's good. One thing you talk about in the book is like your body being a sanctuary. And your safe space. Was like, how did you get to that idea of just accepting and nurturing yourself in the same way? I mean, being a doula, I feel like you had to do some doula work for yourself.
Yeah. Well, first, I mean, just like I felt like my life was in mine, I also felt like my body was in mine. Right? Yeah. Growing up, again, in the church. We're told, your body was bought by a price, with a price.
The price of the blood.
Right? And it's like, listen, I believe you get your spirituality wherever, and your source wherever you get it from. Right? But for me, what the messaging that I picked up was that this wasn't mine. I had no ownership of it. Right. And I think a lot of women in the church.
Yes, indeed.
We grow up thinking we have feeling like we have no ownership of it.
Right.
And so as far as it being a sanctuary, it's kind of hard to really believe that if it's something you don't own.
You don't even own. It's not your sanctuary.
Right? It's everybody else's.
The body is the Lord's temple.
Right? To have opinions about.
Right.
To have thoughts about.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, and I don't know if you remember this, but like, remember the lap cloth?
You have to put the cloth if you're sitting in the front row.
The lap cloth.
Can't be tempting the deacons now.
Can't be tempting the deacons.
Showing all them knees in church.
The ankles, though. It's the ankles.
Cover up the knees. The ankles got to be covered.
That will cause someone to sin.
Yeah.
But it's like, even something as simple as that.
Yeah.
If me showing up as is, my knees, my ankles, how I know you're not an elbow guy?
Now, that elbows out of church.
I gotta be in a bubble suit? Like that, if we really break that down, that's really problematic.
It is indeed.
And so for me, I had to really unlearn a lot of programming for me to begin to actually feel like this is mine.
Is that why you created Not So Private Parts? And I mean, tell me more about that. It's just like really women embracing all that they are.
Yeah. I mean, I started Not So Private Parts because I had a miscarriage. Right? It was my first miscarriage, my first of two.
Right.
And I didn't see any resources out there. This was in 2015.
Right.
Or 2014. I remember Googling just basic things. What do I do after a miscarriage?
Right.
Is this kind of like postpartum?
Right.
What is my body doing?
Right.
And I didn't see any resources out there.
Indeed.
Although it's common.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
More than
right?
The latter. Or yeah.
It happens. And there wasn't really any conversation around it. For me, it was one of those things where it was the 4th of July, where, about to go see some friends, and I'm pregnant and I'm excited. And then I start bleeding.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember going to the hospital because nothing was open. It was the 4th of July. And the doctor saying, well, we're just going to wait and see what your body does.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I didn't know my body had that kind of decision-making power.
Right.
I didn't know what, and no one could tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I started it, so that we could start having these conversations.
Yeah. For a man who I've been, the partner to multiple miscarriages, and you don't know often the sensitivities that you're supposed to
People don't know what to say.
Show up for, because a loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss.
And grieving is grieving. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
And because you want to be supportive, but as a man, you want to be like, oh no, we'll do it again, and like you're saying all of the wrong things.
Yeah, people don't know what to say after miscarriage.
And especially your partner.
Yeah, they're just holding on to, and then also they're grieving.
They're sad as well.
They're grieving
but they're
too.
trying to be there for you, because there's so many things as a woman, I'm sure, that are just going through the process. So I've definitely experienced that hardship.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Quite a few times, but because you learn the statistics, and you learn the process of, especially it's very common.
1 in 4.
So it's but that's heavy regardless of the statistics. When it happens to you, and no matter how many times it happens.
No.
Because I'm sure, you can even speak on this, but what has been shared with me in that space quite often is it's connected to your womanhood.
Yeah.
And then you start questioning so many different things, and it's like, whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's even though we're both grieving, my mind isn't thinking, purpose and am I doing all the things? Is it my fault? And
Oh, that's a major one.
Right.
People think immediately, what did I do?
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Right.
I remember, and at that time, the second one, I was a doula.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking,
so you were helping someone else.
Yeah. I remember literally going to doula after a miscarriage. Wow. And I know all the things, but yet I'm still questioning, wait, I shouldn't have went on that walk. It was the walk that did it. I was walking too fast. That's what it was. Even though I know that's not true.
Right.
But in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe, that one time when I bent this way and I think that was it. No, there's nothing. It's no way that it's your fault.
Right.
I learned a lot though the second time around.
Really?
Yeah, the second time around. First time was tough. I mean, both of them were tough. The first time was tough though, because I didn't know what my body was doing. I bled for like 3 weeks. And my husband, he just didn't know what to do.
Right.
Except sit there with me.
Right.
The second time around, I did something different. I remember laying in my bed, and it was early on, like the other one. And I remember holding my womb, and I spoke to my baby. And I said, if you want to stay, I want you here. If you don't want to stay, it's okay. You can go. And I remember in that moment feeling this relinquishing happen. Because I think that's one of the things that happens in miscarriage. And when I speak of miscarriage, even in the book, I don't even think of just birth. I think of that feeling of almost. That thing where you almost get there. You almost get the thing.
Right.
And it doesn't work out. And you feel like a failure. And you start questioning everything, right? But I remember immediately realizing that this work, whatever you're birthing, is so much bigger than me.
Wow. Yeah.
It's so much bigger.
You took it spiritual.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so much bigger than me. Yeah. And as much as I want to say that I have a say, and I have all this control, because trust me, control is great.
Yeah.
I really like control, but we don't have as much control as we think.
Yeah, it's a vessel.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I had to really sit with that and just wish my baby well.
Right. I think were you speaking, I think it was like somewhere in the book you were talking about, the life belonging, we don't belong to our, isn't ours, you know what I mean? Like it's bigger than us, you know what I mean? And the children aren't necessarily our children.
No.
Yeah.
No, I've learned that with all 3 of mine.
Was it Jupiter, Jedi, and it's another J, right?
You almost got it. Jax.
Jax. That's what I was like.
First off,
you name your kids like I named mine.
The fact that you remembered that.
How can you forget Jupiter, Jedi, and Jax? Like, those are amazing.
I'm impressed.
That's like, I was like, I could have named my kid Jupiter
Yeah.
and Jedi.
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah.
I got some crazy names.
They
so.
are, and they are that.
Yeah.
They are all of those names.
Yeah.
All of them. But even with that, like, they're so different. My oldest is 17, about to be out in the world in 5 months.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Going to Howard.
Hey, HU.
Yep,
you know.
yep. And who he is who he is.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to believe that that's because of me and his father,
Yeah.
it's who he is.
He was that. He was already that. It was predestined.
Yeah.
It was in
all of them.
In
all
the
of
blueprint. And I mean, you say all that. It's funny too, because I agree with you. Like I got a 3-year-old whose name is Powerful, and she is every bit of that.
Powerful.
And I remember it came to me. I was just sitting there, and I was
Yeah.
like, I know the name, and we didn't even know like what the gender was gonna be, but I was just like, this child's name is Powerful, and it was either gonna be Powerful King or Powerful Queen.
And they are that.
Yeah. And
did your partner, did they feel that when they were carrying them?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Like she was moving around, and now she runs the world. But yeah, to be able to experience, the lows and the highs of what this universe brings us, I feel like that's what you kind of talk about. I want to stay in that space a little bit more too, because even for men, we do a lot. There's always a lot of pontificating, and people are saying we get on these platforms and we see a good man should be this, or a good woman should do this. But you talk a lot about the book about being seen, and even from all different walks of life.
Yeah.
But just being in that space and that image of a Black woman today, and speaking to a man, what would your words or insight be to how we should handle our Black women to make sure that they are seen?
We need safety. We need safety. I think so many of us in this world don't feel safe. We don't feel safe. We need softness. We need the permission to be soft. Because I think this world has been so hard on us, and it's been hard on you all too, right?
Right.
It's both been hard. And so because of that, I think we've built calluses to survive, because that's what calluses are. It's to cover our wounds.
The exterior to cover us up, to make us tougher.
And we need permission to be soft and open. We need permission to rest. That's something I'm working on. Not always great at it.
Right.
But rest. And we need permission to not be perfect. I think that, with Black women, we're used to just having this like excellence, right? And I'm all about Black excellence. I think it's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways, it's hurt us. It's hurt us. It's caused us harm. It's caused us to not really live. Because I believe that part of living is making mistakes.
Right.
Being able to make mistakes. And be like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And not be like crucified for it, you know?
You make a great point too, because even I just start to think about, and you said that even is like the permission to be soft.
Yeah.
It's like we, as not just Black men, but I believe in society in general, we look at Black women as these strong individuals.
I don't want to be a strong Black woman.
And I heard that, so I was someone I was having a deep discussion with, and she said, I'm tired of being resilient.
I almost threw this at you. I don't want it.
Right.
I don't want it. Take it.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I think it's been placed on, and I write about this, the backs of us way too often. Same thing with Black men, but on Black women, resilient.
Because you're our matriarch, you're the foundation.
Right.
How you're much? The motherland.
Right.
We all come from you.
I don't want it. Take it back. It's like, I don't believe that resilience. I think we have it so twisted. And we view it as such an unhealthy manner.
Yeah.
How much can you take and take and
she
take?
can handle it.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, how much can you take without dying? That's not living. I don't want it. I don't want it. You can keep it.
You can have permission to be soft. So we got to create spaces that allow that.
Yeah, soft spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, because I feel like there's so, like I said, going to that space, I feel like there's so much of this combative energy, especially today when I see a lot online. It's like, I'm looking for a good man. I'm looking for a woman to do what you bringing to the table. And it's like, when did that happen? Like
Hurt.
It's like.
Harm, hurt, trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma does that. And so many of us are reacting out of trauma.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm in my tough girl era.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
Tough girl era ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Right.
That's not what births peace.
Well, I also feel, and it's interesting because I don't necessarily see that division or even that conversation in other communities or other cultures. They're not talking, I never heard about being a strong white woman. Like, it
doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
They're just called Karens.
No, they're a boss babe or a girl boss. That's what it's called.
Is that what that is?
I guess, you know, I don't know.
Call it annoying.
Right? I don't know what it is. But for Black women, it is put on us.
Yeah.
You're a strong Black woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Now I'm gonna research, like, what is that?
yeah, I've never heard that term.
What is the equivalent?
Such a strong white woman. But we say that because it's evident that Black women have had to be strong in order to survive. But now we're no longer in our survival era, we're in our thriving era.
Right.
So to be able to thrive, you got to be able to be soft. You got to be able to be in touch and be on the highest frequency that you can. And really not even operate in all of those conversations and arguments. Because that to me is like, it just can't, it's not really doing any of us any good. And as a father of, 5 daughters, and even now one who's a teenager, it's like, I'm having that conversation because I want to say, you don't need a man. But if you want a man, it's difficult for me because, like I said, I named one of my daughters Powerful.
Her name is Powerful.
Yeah, so I want the strength, and I know the strength is almost innate, and that's almost from a space of protection. So when I'm talking to her, I'm like, all right, I need, you can be as soft as you want to be, but as your protector, I value the strength. I encourage the strength. And, obviously I know that it's not in my hands. I don't really control what the future is going to bring, but I want to at least give her all of the tools. What would be your advice in that space to say, what would be the right words for a father to tell his daughter, even in the early teen years, knowing she's coming into womanhood of like, how to thrive?
I would say the first thing is modeling what thriving looks like. Because they need to see it, what it looks like. You can say what thriving looks like, but if they see that from their parents, from their father.
Modeling is always the answer, isn't it?
I know. I wish I could.
That's making it so much tougher on us.
I know.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I know, but those days are so over because if we think about it, where did that get us?
Yeah.
Our parents did that too, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
And look at how much we're having to work through.
Yeah.
Right? And so modeling what thriving looks like. And I'll even say this might help. Modeling your humanity. Because I think also our kids lose out when we try to put on this thing of perfection.
Right.
Like, you're her father. I am perfect. Yeah. I don't have flaws. I am the best person ever.
Oh, yeah, no, my daughter know I'm a fuck up. All she got to do is Google daddy. It's going down.
Don't Google. But no, like, showing her, like, hey, yes, I have, great things, and I have things that I don't ain't nobody. Right, and things that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Those are the things that our kids need to see, is that Because listen, I got my stuff too.
Right.
And my kids, they see when mommy is like, okay, so what's going on, mom? And I tell them, like, you know what? I'm feeling overwhelmed. I had a conversation with Jedi, I think it was, about capacity, what that means. And he was like, because I was like, Jedi, I think I'm at capacity. He was like, what's capacity?
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you see this glass of water? I said, it's full, right? I said, now imagine what's going to happen if I pour more water in there. He said, it's going to go over. I said, exactly. That's capacity. And so now what does he do? When he feels overwhelmed, he says, Mommy, I'm at capacity. I feel like my water is going to blow over.
Right.
He knows how to communicate it.
That's awesome.
So I didn't communicate my perfection to him. I communicated my humanness and how to communicate my humanness.
Right.
So you don't have to be perfect.
Nah, that's it.
You don't have to.
That's some great insight right there. Like I said, in the book is full of it. One of the things that I found to be pretty compelling is even in that same space of being seen, and they even talked a little bit about imposter syndrome. But then even the story of Whole Foods Wendy.
Amazing.
Yeah. But even like just someone, someone of another culture, wanting to connect. And we're in this ultra woke era where everyone wants to understand. They want to touch your hair. They love your skin.
It's so great.
Yeah. You don't even have pores.
Oh my God. And it's like your face is on my hand. Your hand is on my face.
Can I touch? Like, being a woman of color, how do you deal with that energy? And then it kind of leads into, same conversation of that, Black women are often called terms like goddess or queens and things of that nature, to where it's, we want you to be the Black girl magic that everyone is impressed by. Everybody got a little Beyonce in them.
I mean, you can call me Beyonce if you want to, but the thing with Whole Foods Wendy, it was interesting because it was right around 2017, 2016. So it was after the election. Right. And everybody
was woke.
Wokey woke.
Right.
And listen, I'm glad everyone's learning.
White people and dashikis.
Right. Yes. I'm glad everyone's learning. However, let's be real, like we've been here. Like this is not new to us.
It's not new at all.
And in many ways it felt like one of those things like, look what I've learned. Yeah. And that's great. However,
hey, Black person, I know about you.
Hey, I want to talk to you. It's like, great. And at the same time, I'm trying to shop for kale. Yeah. With my kids. Right. Right?
Jedi needs his kale. Can you move, white lady?
And this woman just approaches me and she's just talking about oppression and the Black man. And I'm just like, I'm in the parking lot. Right. And at that time I only had two. And we were just like, and I saw my oldest who's like, And now I have to have a conversation with him about oppression and this lady. And
she done brought up stuff that I ain't even talked to my kids about yet.
I mean, well, we had already talked about it. Right. But it was just like, we were living our best lives.
We weren't even thinking about that no more.
We weren't thinking about it. We were about to get ice cream and or vegan ice cream. Yeah. But we were about to do all these things, and then all of a sudden, here we are.
Yeah, we're talking about deep oppression. Right. And have you seen online? There's these videos. I find it hilarious. I thought there was a skit for a moment, but it's literally these white women talking directly to cameras like, Black man.
Oh my gosh, I saw that.
I see you.
I saw that.
You are safe. You are able to. I'm like, huh?
I saw that.
Like what bizarro world am I in?
I saw that.
I didn't know how to feel. I was like, is she making fun of me? I don't understand.
It was bizarre. Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't really understand. I was like, where are we? And I kept watching it over and over again, like what's happening
here? That's Whole Foods Wendy.
That is Whole Foods Wendy.
Because it's just right message, wrong messenger, maybe?
I don't even know. It just felt, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know how to feel.
I didn't know how to feel either. Yeah. I was confused.
And that's okay sometimes.
It's okay. You just keep shopping for your kale.
Yeah, right.
And be like, God bless you.
So all the Whole Foods Wendy's out there, We appreciate the love, the research that you've been doing on the culture, but
and don't touch my hair.
Yeah, it's almost like that, the famous Malcolm X story where the white woman comes up to him and says, what can I do for the mission and the movement? And he says, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be down. She wanted to help.
And the thing is more so, talk to your people. That's how you can help. Talk to your uncles and your brothers at the dinner table instead of avoiding dinner.
Right.
Because that was another thing. I remember, I forgot who wrote this, but they said when it comes to the patriarchy that is, so talked about in white feminism.
Right.
It's like you need to realize that you actually have power to change things. White woman. Your father is the patriarchy. You are tucking the patriarchy in at night. You are sleeping with the patriarchy. You are in cahoots with the patriarchy.
Right.
You can do good by talking to your people and saying, hey, when you see them saying something out of pocket, correct them.
Right.
When you see that, one, uncle that's kind of racist at the dinner table during Thanksgiving, that's your moment to shine right there. That whole soliloquy you gave me in Whole Foods, that's your guy.
There you go, Whole Foods, Wendy. Get to it.
That's your guy.
Yeah.
That's who you need to be pouring into.
Tell Winston.
Right. Uncle Bobby, tell him.
Jebediah.
That's how you can actually make a difference.
Yeah.
Right there.
There it is.
And more of a difference than I can make.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I believe that is a great place to pause for our first session. I think in our next session, we definitely want to cover even more so going back into the imposter syndrome and even the identity of a Black woman.
Yeah.
And even, from queens to goddesses to just wanting to be.
I love it.
And I mean, this session has been helpful for me. Hopefully it's been helpful for you. And again, this is what we doing. We on thriving.
We thriving.
in a big way here with Brandi Sellerz-Jackson. And we got a lot more to unpack. Please like, subscribe, leave your comments. This is a great conversation right here on Counsel Culture.